they have this dog toy at Lily's, and it's like this I don't know, it's a guy, but his, like, mouth is open. It's like a plushie, and you squeeze him, and he says, "Oh, no."
That's kind of horrifying.
It's really scary, but the dogs love it, and then
I
it's funny.
bet. Hi, Cassie.
"Hi, creepy people."
Hello.
This is PNW Haunts and Homicides, where we chat about true crime, the paranormal, and all things spooky in the Pacific Northwest, and sometimes other places.
Ooh. Yeah, that's right. We just went to Guadalajara.
We did.
Yeah.
And today we're going somewhere else too.
We also do a tarot reading at the end of every episode for a little bit of deeper insight into our topic.
Showing off the tarot deck. What do we got here on the
Ooh.
bottom? 3 of Wands. Interesting, interesting.
Okay, okay.
Well, today is a little bit different of an episode. Caitlin isn't going to join us the entire time.
Well,
I know. She wasn't invited to this interview that I did. No, she was, but it was a little hard to schedule because our guest is in England, which fun fact, if you didn't know, they're 8 hours ahead of the Pacific Northwest.
mm,
So it's a little hard to schedule. We ended up doing it at, like, my 9 AM, his 5 PM. So, in this interview, since I had to go to work after it, we didn't really have time to do the tarot. So me and Caitlin are gonna do tarot at the end for Ben. I didn't ask him, I really don't know how he feels about tarot.
mm.
So Ben, if you're listening, if you don't want the tarot and you're like, "No," then don't listen to the rest of the episode at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause we're doing it, so
I'll probably DM him and tell
Mhm.
him, but yeah, so we interviewed Ben, who is an abandoned place photographer, and
So
I
cool.
think we found him on Instagram. I think I was, like, trolling you with one of his photos of, like, a doll
Oh,
in
okay,
our stories.
that sounds like you.
Sounds like me. And then also, I wanted to quickly show you. I wanna get your reaction because he talks about something later in the interview.
Okay.
And he made me look at it to get my reaction, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to show Caitlin and get her reaction to it."
What am I looking at here?
So is it just a house at the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, so scroll.
Okay.
This is an abandoned house full of fun surprises. Literally a full when I say full, it's full. Just a nightmare.
Okay. So, Cassie, I feel like, yes, technically, I don't see any porcelain dolls, but, like, there are definitely dolls in there.
In the mix.
I'm loving this there's, I think, 3 that I can for sure no, no, there's some buried in the pile. There's gotta be at least 4 or 5 of those, like, bottle drop recycling bags in there. They're, like, the green bags that you
I did
use to
see
take
that,
your
yeah.
cans. Oh my god, that's a lot. That is a lot. They are just piled. Like, I feel like I'm picturing an avalanche. Like, an
Yeah.
avalanche, like, that I would be equally fearful of an avalanche that would end my life in this situation as I would standing on, like, on a mountain. I
Yeah. Right? Like, who knows what's buried under there? Could there be a person under there?
or worse yet, a porcelain doll.
It crawls its way out of all the other
Oh my god.
toys.
Oh my god. Cassie, I'm home alone all day today.
Sorry.
You are a monster.
So, I have Ben with me today from Places Forgotten.
Did it. That's the
I
one.
remembered it.
Yeah,
And
we
you
can
are a photographer of abandoned places.
that's what I do just as a
It's
hobby. Yes, I've been called worse. I got called a blogger recently, and I'm thinking, I've never written a blog in my life. Where does that come from?
I
But
was
no,
kind of thinking the same thing. You
yeah.
sent me a little news clip of I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it or
Yeah, we can
not.
talk about that. It's fine.
Ooh.
They call me a blogger, and I'm like, I don't think I've written a blog in my life, but
I was
okay.
excited. I'm like, "Okay, where's this blog at? I
Me
need to go
too. I want to
find
read
the
it.
blog."
I feel like I'm holding out myself.
So you're basically on Instagram and TikTok
Yes. Yeah.
for now.
Hopefully.
TikTok for now?
Oh, you know what? I hope we get. It's like death row. I hope that we get a last minute pardon because a
Yeah.
lot of my audience are in the States. I think it'll happen. I think Mr. Beast will buy it.
Right. Oh, I didn't think about that. Is the ban
Mhm.
not happening worldwide? Is it just in the
I think it's
US?
just the US, but
That is interesting.
yeah, I know.
I
I know.
mean, we're
I mean,
weird
look,
over
my
here.
last videos were 1.4 million, so I've really been kind of plugging that as much as I can. But
Wow,
I don't want it
yeah.
to go because something like 60, 70% of my audience is Americans.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Beast needs to make this happen in the next day.
We'll
I think
see.
maybe me and you, we should put our money together, maybe buy it if they accept like Venmo or like PayPal or something.
Well, so speaking of TikTok and your millions of views on the video, which video is it?
Well, a lot of my videos, I'm very lucky because a lot of them have got millions on them. A lot of the funeral homes, my biggest one was the
Oh,
funeral home.
yeah.
I can talk about this one now because the
Yes.
funeral home's actually gone. It was
Oh, it
in,
is?
yeah, it was a funeral home with a pink casket, and that was in Kingstree in the Carolinas. And I just started with TikTok, and I put out the video, and it was an amazing funeral home. It had like a pink hearse in the back. I don't know if you saw it. It had a
Ooh.
pink hearse in the back. No, a pink casket in the back of the hearse outside.
I
Had
don't
all
know
the
if I
hearses
saw the pink
outside.
casket. I saw a bunch of hearses though, and those are like one of
Yeah.
my favorite things.
Yeah, and the place was just wide open, and even the neighbors would drive past and look at you, and they wouldn't care. And I remember I put the video up, and I went to the we'll call it the movies because I'm talking to the Americans now, not the cinema. And I remember I came out to Usaloo an hour in, terrible, terrible patron, and it was on 1 million, and I'm like, wow, in an hour, and I think within a week it was on 29 million, and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Wow.
So a lot of my videos are do well. They normally hit between 500,000, 1 million, 2 million. But my last four videos were only got like in the hundreds of thousands. And then this video has been up 4 days and it's on 1.4 million. So I'm like, wow, this is actually the best
Ooh.
video in like a few that I've done. But, there's a downside to that as well. So,
Yeah, you get noticed.
mm, yeah. Did you look into that case at all?
I didn't look into the case. I'm not like the true crime one.
Well, the
So I
woman,
like more
yeah.
spooky stuff and not like
Well,
murdery stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'll quickly tell you the woman
Yeah.
she murdered her parents, as
Oh.
you do. And
Right.
she lived in the house with the bodies for 4 years.
For
And then they
4
were
years?
discovered, yeah, she was arrested, and then they found the bodies in the house. And she was arrested in October 2023, and she's now in jail. And the house has sat since. So I thought, wow, I really need to do a video in here. So I got in and I documented it all. And it's horrifying. And now somebody complained that the video offended them. And I saw on the news yesterday that police are investigating this blogger who went into this house. And I'm thinking, well, that's me, but I'm not a blogger. And I would thought SWAT was going to come over and put in the door,
Oh
and
my
I've had nothing.
god.
So I'm like, well, they can't be that bothered. And
Right?
I was reading all the
Yeah.
comments people were writing on the news, and they were like, "Vile, despicable person," all this stuff about me, and I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough. So,
Yeah, I guess I do see we get that side too because my co-host, we do talk about true crime. She does
yeah,
all the research
hmm
for it and
hmm
tells me about it. But people think we're just like sensationalizing, trying to make money off of like other people's crimes
hmm
and the
but
bad
people are
things that they
interested
do and
in
the
it.
victims. Yeah.
People are interested in it. It's like, okay, here's an example. We have a true crime exhibition in London right now. I'm going to go
Mhm.
to it next week, and it's got stuff like how can I forget this? The great Netflix show with the acid in the bodies.
Dahmer?
Dharma, it's got like Dharma's glasses there, and
Oh,
it's got like some of the
creepy.
barrels he used, and it's got like Richard Ramirez's clothes, and I
Ooh,
can't wait to
I don't like
go.
him.
I'm yeah, he was a bit weird. Well, they're all weird, but anyway. So you could say, well, that kind of thing is centralizing and making money out of it. But if people are interested in it, people are interested.
Right, we've always been interested we used to do public hangings, like, come on.
Exactly. I mean, could you imagine that would be like a morning? What are you doing this morning? Well, I'm going to go to the public hanging, and then I'm going to go and get bread for dinner. So
Right,
exactly,
exactly.
it's the same kind of thing in a way. People want to see some macabre and some mysterious stuff, and
Yeah.
then so yeah, so I'm all for it, really.
I've been to the Zach Bagans Museum in
How was that in
Vegas.
Vegas? How was that? I hear that's good.
I mean, I really like it. It's kinda icky though. It's kinda like the same thing. He's got like, murderabilia, is that what they call it?
Amazing.
It's interesting.
Yeah. No, I bet.
Um,
I bet. I mean, I have a
yeah.
human lung in formaldehyde on my counter.
A human what?
I have a human lung on my
Oh,
counter. I love stuff like this. I mean, Zach Baggins' collection must be amazing, but unfortunately, I'm not a multi-millionaire, so I can't buy
right,
everything.
right, right.
But I mean, it could be amazing. Imagine having Dharma glasses. All somebody had to do was when he was taken to the morgue, is just swipe them. I'd have done the
Yeah.
same. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're if it was like the victim's glasses, that would be different. That would be like
Yes.
icky, icky,
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
the person who was doing the bad thing, like,
Yes.
let's look at their stuff and make money off of it. Who
Well,
cares?
exactly. I'm all for it. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my last video, but that's doing quite well. People seem to like it, and people are like, "Oh, it's really disrespectful. You can take it down." No, I'm not,
Yeah.
because most of the people find it very interesting.
So, how do you get into these places?
You know what? A lot of people have this thing of, oh yeah, breaking and entering. 9.999% of the time, these places are open if you just want to be creative and you can climb. I'm very good at climbing. So I'll go to some
Mm,
funeral homes and I'll be like, right, well, all the doors are locked, but I can get in a top window that's open. And then I have to jump down into the mortuary. So a lot of places are open, or if not, if it's closed, local kids will open it. But mind
mhm.
you, there are some places I've been to that just are not open and I've never been able to go inside. And that's just the way it is sometimes.
You're not, like, taking a
So
crowbar with you and, like
a lot of the Americans are fully admitting this, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't care." But no, I don't do that just purely because I'm British, and if I get caught in America doing that, I don't really think you guys would like it too much.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
unfortunately, but no. But luckily, I get given a lot of spots that are already open. Have they been opened by somebody else? Possibly, but I get there and it's open. That's all I know.
Yeah, just checking doors.
Yeah, checking doors, and to be fair, I've done some really good funeral homes, and literally, I've tried every door and window, and you'd sometimes just find a door or window that's open, and it's like, oh wow, that was easy. So I did one in the Carolinas in July, and the door was just open, and I didn't know that it shut, and they were actually going to put it up for sale, and it was in that in period, and I was in there, and I wanted to go back and get my pictures of the embalming room. And then the owner and his wife came in, and
Oh,
I was
no.
like, "Oh, the panic!" And they kind of stormed in, and I was like, "You're Richard. I've been here so long waiting for you." And they're like, "Who's Richard?" I'm like, "Oh, I thought you were Richard. I thought you were the real estate guy. I heard this place was for sale. I didn't even know it was gonna be for sale. I just made this up." And then they were like, "Oh, no, it's gonna be for sale, but not yet. But how did you find out?" And I had to just think on my feet. And the guy ended up giving me like a whole tour of the funeral home. Had no idea that I'd actually been in there for like an hour taking pictures and video. I was so lucky.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like doing improv.
His wife was like, you see an open door, you don't walk in. And I'm thinking, you can't tease me with a funeral home with an open door and not think I'm going to come in. But he
Yeah,
was
for
really nice. I
real.
actually, I actually felt really bad for lying to him. But I was like, oh
Aw.
yeah, I'll put in the offer definitely. I'm sure he sold it by now. It's all good. But
Yeah. It
it,
went to
what
who it was supposed to go to, and you got cool photos, so
exactly. So it's all good. But it was a really good funeral home, to be fair. So it was okay.
my first
Yeah.
instinct probably would be to be like, "I'm a ghost.
Yeah.
Boo.
Put a sheet on my head.
I'm
Exactly.
not here."
Mm. Yeah. So that was recent, but I just try and be careful. I don't want to run into neighbors. Neighbors can be worse than owners sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though I think,
Yes.
well, what's it got to do with you? Mind your own business. So yeah, but no, 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty good because I'm English. Um, I remember I was trying doors at this funeral home, and I'm literally like pulling on this door, like, oh, it's gonna give way, and because it was just really old. And then this girl like comes around the corner, And she's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I had to make out I was looking for my drone on the roof. And her dad got a ladder, and we're looking for this non-existent drone on the roof that was not on the roof because I made it up. And I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
"Oh, I thought this place was abandoned." He's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna reopen this. So we've been looking to reopen it for a couple of years, and it's one of those it's never gonna be reopened."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Oh, I knocked. Like, how do you know I was here?" He goes, "Oh, the neighbor called me and said that somebody was trying the doors." And I'm like, "Oh right." And I'm thinking, what a snitch. But could you imagine if I was in there? Oh, I'm looking for my drone in the embalming room.
Inside, yeah, I
Inside,
accidentally flew it into the window,
yes, into the embalming room. So
whoops.
yeah, silly me. So yeah, so you got to think on your feet. I think being English helps. Um,
Right.
luckily, touch wood. But all the owners are going to see this video and be cursing and shaking their fists, like I knew it.
There is this place I've been researching for an episode that's here, it's called Oculus Anubis, have you heard of it?
Is it in Oregon?
Yeah, it's not,
I've
like,
not heard
super
of it.
well known.
I,
It
well, I
is
haven't heard of it. What is it?
so I don't know if it's abandoned technically, I think some people still live on the property,
Don't worry
but
about them.
it is yeah, right, don't worry about them, but they have, like,
They're fine.
cameras out there, but
Yeah.
also they're apparently, like, bankrupt, so do the cameras work? I don't know.
A lot of
But
cameras, at a show, and you'll know if they work or not because if you hold
Mhm.
your phone up to them, if you don't see a red light, they don't work.
Right. Yeah.
There we are.
That's a good tip.
Mhm.
Good, abandoned place tips.
So, what kind of place is it?
So, it is no one really knows. It's kind of like an unfinished property. It was supposed to be like a big mansion with, like, underground tunnels and stuff, but the guy was, like, an eye care doctor, and he was, like, ripping off insurance. So he was doing, like, insurance fraud or whatever.
Wow.
So he's,
Okay,
like,
that's a
making
cool
a shit
story.
ton of money.
Yeah.
So the reason it's, like, so noticeable, so the front is, like, this huge gate, like, arched gate with, like,
Yeah.
lions and, like, 2 pyramids that used to, like, have fire. They don't have fire anymore. And
It's
then
quite an
down
impressive entrance, isn't it? Like a
right.
villain movie layer.
And it's in, like, a small town near Portland, and it's, like, in a residential, like, neighborhood, so it's, like, kind of interesting if you stumble upon it, like, obviously, all the teenagers are like, "Ooh, what's this?" You know?
Has anyone
But,
got
like,
in and got
down
pictures?
people have, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all you can see, like, down there's, like, a long road from the gate, and then there's this big statue, it's like an Egyptian statue, and so, automatically, I don't know why, but people think, like, it's a cult, it's, like, satanic, because Egyptian is satanic for some reason. Um,
I don't
yeah,
think the
so
Egyptians were satanic, from what I remember studying them at school.
right? It's weird.
Yeah.
It's I don't know
Mm,
why people think that, but because it's so secretive and private and, like,
sure.
shady stuff was going on, people think they're, like, a cult or, like,
Yeah.
human traffickers because of, like, the tunnel thing.
Yeah. All of that.
People have, like, looked up the permits. They have permits for tunnels. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, there's, like, an unfinished, like, mansion there. There's other
It could
weird
it could
statues
be
all
like
over.
child trafficking and all sorts there.
I mean, I freaking hope not.
Yeah.
But I think it's just an abandoned property and everyone makes up all these weird stuff because he was kind of like a criminal.
Is he in
Um,
jail now?
he's dead now actually, and
Okay.
his son got charged for their crimes, did a little jail time, but now, like, the original owner, the guy who died, his wife lives there, I think, and then his son's, wife.
Oh, right.
And they're, like, fighting over who owns the property. It's really interesting,
I'm
but
gonna look
yeah,
into this when we come off the call. That sounds cool.
yeah, there's some, like, YouTube videos, but so let me know if you ever try to
Yeah.
sneak
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, of course. I'll
But
drag you with
people
me.
have
So
been apparently chased out and stuff, so I don't know if you
yeah,
wanna
some
try that.
owners can be really scary. I mean, I've had a run-in with an owner in Illinois that was horrible. Some owners can be really scary,
Ooh,
to be fair. It was
yeah.
a it was a funeral home, and the guy he'd actually lost his license because he was rather than giving ashes back to the families, he was giving back kitty litter. So the guy lost his
That's
license.
awful.
It happens all the time. So he lost his license. So I rock up to this funeral home at night, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. And I find the embalming room that was separate from the main house, and it's got the hearses in the garage and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I booked my motel 2 minutes away. And I managed to get in the embalming room, and I'm like, oh, cool, a nice slab, everything's good. And I go back the next morning, and I turn the corner, and the car's there, and I'm like, what? Where did this car come? And bear in mind, this was like 6:30 in the morning. And then like the guy comes out, and he's like, "Oh, hi, can I help you?" And it's the owner, and he's wearing the funeral home business's t-shirt, driving the funeral home business. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you've like been outed for doing this terrible stuff. You've lost your
Right.
license. The town probably hates you. Why are you still here? I would have left. And this guy's still kind of, wearing the funeral home gear. And he's like, "Oh, were you here last night?" Because I'd opened the door for the prep room, and I opened it a little hard, and it was like that mesh you guys have, and it completely like broke. And I'm like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It's abandoned."
Oh.
And it had
Right,
glass as
yeah.
well, and the glass all smashed. And I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. This is abandoned anyway." And I turn around, it's all been swept up, and I'm like, "No, I'm just cutting through." And he's like, "No, you were definitely here last night. Were you here last night? Were you looking around?" And this guy was like ready to lay hands. This guy, and he was only like probably like 30 something. And I thought, this is going to be really bad. Like, he's really angry. And I just basically said, "Look, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just cutting through." I said, I thought your building looked really interesting. I thought it was, I don't know, I made up some rubbish Victorian era or something. And then I just left, and he was like, "Don't be filming me. Don't be filming me." And I got in my car, and I was like, why didn't I just leave the minute I saw that car in the drive? Why did I keep venturing in? Do you know what I mean? What was I going to expect?
Curiosity.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
stupid though. But I was so surprised, because I thought, why are you still here? Like, if the whole town hates you, you've been exposed for that. Why haven't you kind of hightailed it out of here? So
No
yeah,
money,
owners
maybe.
owners can be a bit sketchy. So yeah,
Yeah, I'd be worried, especially, like, in America with guns.
well, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Touch wood, I've never had that happen. But
thank goodness.
I don't really like doing houses, because houses, I think you're more likely. I've got friends on Instagram who just do houses, and they look amazing. I just don't. I don't know. I always think with like hospitals, funeral homes, you're better off than houses. Creep me out, because I've been in Missouri and stuff, and I've seen houses with broken windows, look like something out of an apocalypse film. Walked up, there's somebody living in there. With
Oh
like all the
god.
dogs running loose, and I just feel as if houses are kind of a bit more of an invitation for trouble, and a gun as well, a shotgun. You can imagine like Cletus running out with a shotgun.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I picture for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's why funeral homes are a lot easier, because you're not really going to meet anybody, and everybody that's been in there is most likely dead, so you're okay.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of meeting people, have you ever met anyone who is not alive anymore? A ghost?
I've had some weird stuff go on. I mean, I've done a mortuary in Paris that still had brains and stuff in it. They left a brain behind. It's on my TikTok, and like bones and liver and lungs. It's just left behind in
Whoa,
jars.
that's
And
creepy.
that was really creepy. And then recently I did a funeral home in Alabama that was terror. It had such a dark energy to it. It was
Ooh.
horrible. I couldn't wait to leave. And I was on my own. I went
Oh,
over for
that's
a
scary.
weekend, and I did a funeral home in Bama, Georgia, and Pensacola. And I did them all on my own. Like, it was great fun. But the one in Alabama was horrible. And I did one in Jacksonville where the guy was storing the bodies, and he didn't have air conditioning, and he just left them rotting.
Oh,
I did that one.
god.
Marion, if you want to look it up, it's the Marion Graham Mortuary. And the police raided it,
Okay.
and they found the bodies. And that was a horrible energy in there as well. There was like noises and everything. It was so bad. I don't know whether you'd actually like to experience these, or whether you're okay seeing them through TikTok. All these are on TikTok though, but then the energy in some of these places is horrible. Like asylums in Europe, where they like experimented on the patients and stuff, they're horrible as well.
Yeah, I feel like those would be, like have the most, like, strong
Mm.
energy in
Yeah,
them is asylums.
yeah.
Oh.
Like me and my friend David, we did an asylum in Italy a few years ago. Now this place was huge. They used to abuse the patients and stuff. It was like a proper asylum, like something like American Horror Story. Now, this place was so hard to get into. It took us hours to get in, because it was like a fortress. We looked around every floor, every room, make sure nobody's in there. There's no animals, there's no nothing. And all of these had like metal beds. where they used to chain the residents, the patients to the
Oh
beds, and we
god.
photographed. And I still remember it. It still gives me shivers down my spine. We photographed this one room, and it had like the shoes in it, the clothes, the bed. And we left that room, literally went out, went to the next room, and we heard as clear as day it was like a fist banging on the bed that we just come out of, like clear as day, like bang, bang. You know that clear sound of somebody hitting on a metal bed frame, clear as
Wow.
day. And we'd just been in there. We're back in. Of course, there's nothing in there. There's no animals. There's nobody else in there. And we were like,
Ooh.
okay, yeah, it was so I
Ooh.
still say to David now, do you remember the asylum? And he'll be like, yeah, that was horrible.
Oh,
So,
man. I
yeah, that
got
was
so many
amazing.
chills you telling
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So that was amazing. The funeral home I
Oh.
did in Alabama. Um, I was actually I did it recently, and I was on FaceTime to my friend Jen in there, and I was in the prep room and I said, "Look, this place is horrible," and literally, oh, it always gives me shivers as well. She kind of took a step back, and I literally saw somebody behind my shoulder. And I looked back, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go now." And I just got my photos, and she said, "Look, get the coffins, get the casket photos." And I just left Harden out there. It was like it was horrible, and half the building was in complete darkness. So I was having to go out to do the caskets just with a torch, and I'm on my own, and I'm
Oh.
like, there's
Whoa.
definitely something in it. It's so weird. You can't explain it. That's the thing. You know, like a lot of YouTubers would be like, oh, a demon chased us out. Sometimes you don't know what it is, but you know that there's something that's there with you, and it's just
Yeah.
creepy.
Do you have any
It's-
kind of, like, protection, like charms or talismans or crystals or anything that
No,
you
no, no.
bring with you?
I've never brought. I just go with my torch and my phone because I only film with my phone, so I just go with a
Yeah. Oh,
torch and
wow.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And
You take
no,
all the photos with your phone?
yeah, and my video, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I've never had a camera. Don't get me wrong. I
What?
think some cameras would be amazing, but I think you know you got to set it up. You need a tripod, and I think phones now are probably just as good as some cameras. So yeah, I
They
just
are
take
pretty
them.
good. I'm a photographer though, so I'm all like,
There we
gotta
are.
have my camera.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But I've got a tripod for my phone. So then if I want to take a picture of me like on a slab, I can do it. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I just take them on my phone.
That's
Easy.
cool
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
They're
easy,
really
easy.
good.
Thank you, thank you. I just
Yeah.
self-taught. I just look. I might take 100 photos in the place and use 10, but yeah, they're okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they're okay.
That's it's a photographer thing.
It is, it is. But I've got prints as well, and my prints came out pretty good. I've got some prints framed on my wall, and some people buy my prints. Nobody's actually bought a print
Nice.
since July last year, so I need to start putting
Mm.
that up on my Insta story. Say, look, buy some prints. You know, support the
Do you have a
starving
website? Do
artists.
you
Yeah,
sell
it's
on
my
like a
darkroom. Yeah, on
Oh,
darkroom.
okay.
Mm.
Nice. We can link
And
to that too if
the
anyone's
prints are like,
interested.
yeah, the prints are like $5. But nobody's brought
Oh,
one
okay.
since July, and it's so annoying because those people add to the basket and they don't
Mm.
check out, and I'm like, just check out.
Check out.
I get like $1 a print, you know. But hey, if I spend 10, that's 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 breakfast at Waffle House, so we're all good.
Yeah. Buy prints, everyone. Decorate your walls.
There
My
we go.
wall's blank behind me. I need to get
But
some stuff on there.
I've actually met some people not in person, but there's a lady on my Instagram called Honey Myers. I actually know if Myers is her last name because she loves Michael Myers, but I talk to Honey all the time. She's a really, really nice person. She's a really good friend. And we just had memes back and forth, silly memes. And we actually met on Insta because she brought some of my prints. And that was it.
Aw,
What the start of a good
nice.
friendship, you know? Like, there we are.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, I appreciate your work. Let's
Let's
be
be friends
friends."
and send
Yeah.
memes. So yeah, it's good.
Do you ever feel like you're in a zombie apocalypse when you go to these places? Like, do you just kinda pretend that
Oh,
the rest of
yeah.
the world is gone and you're the only one there?
I tell you what, so I was in Japan last year for work,
Whoa.
and I went to Fukushima, where they had the
The
radioactive disaster.
Yeah. Wait,
Have you
is
seen
it safe?
Oh, well, I'm perfect. Yeah, look, a lot of people now are moving back, so you're good.
Okay, so
Have
just
you
like a
seen the
little
last
radiation.
Have you seen The Last of Us?
Yes.
It is just like the
Yeah.
last. I don't think people
Ooh.
understand, right? You've got entire towns, and it's even got the cars left, the keys in the ignition. You go in the stores, it's got everything, the register, the money in the register, everything on the shelves. The hospitals are like untouched with like grass. Um, you go in the casinos, everything. It's like the best Urbex in the world. It's insanely good. I'm actually looking to go
Mm.
back there. I was meant to be going back there, so I'm looking to go back. I want to go back in a couple of months. But yeah, it's literally like a zombie apocalypse. You go in these hospitals that are like 15 floors huge. Everything. I don't know if you've seen any of my posts on it. Everything is just left completely like they just walked out. Well, they did.
Ugh. Yeah,
You've
they
still got
had
all the
to.
people's like false teeth on the side and like their clothes in the wardrobe. You're gonna have to look at my
Ooh.
posts on Insta. I've got some of the hospitals on there from
Yeah,
Japan.
I did look through, like, a few things.
Yeah.
I really do I got stuck on, like, the hearses and stuff because those are my
Oh, they're
favorite
cool.
things
They're
ever.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just wanna drive one.
I think it's such a shame. A lot of the funeral homes have hearses in the garage, and it's like, what a shame. I'd love to drive one. I would just take it and just drive it as my
Seriously.
everyday car. Yeah,
Uh-huh, me too.
I
Yeah.
would. I've got a friend on Instagram, Katie from Boston, and she drives a hearse.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, super cool.
She's my idol now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's into the funeral homes. I think she's got a casket in her house as well. I think she sent it
Whoa.
to a table, so that'd be cool. We're giving all these ideas now.
What is, like, the weirdest thing you've ever found left in an abandoned place?
So in Paris, I found brains, liver, lungs, and bones. But the
Yeah.
brain was just on the side, just like the brain, obviously
Just
for
out?
research, just out. We're like, is that
Is
a
it in a
brain?
jar?
No, it's just out, just on the side. Somebody
No.
stole it though. That really annoyed me. I went back 2 years later, and then I went back again. Somebody had stolen it. I'm like, I would have had that. And then I did this funeral home recently in Cobb County, and that made the news because it was like 35 boxes of ashes. That had a fetus in a jar. That had a
Oh.
fetus. Apparently, apparently, I stole the fetus. I'm like, no, I didn't. So I
No one wants a fetus
no,
around.
no, it was all dried up. It wasn't any good. Well, any good. Like, so there's
Yeah.
that. A lot of things you find is human remains, lots of human remains, boxes of remains,
Ugh,
ashes, all the time, all the time, all the time,
that is
with their
so
names on and
sad.
stuff. Yeah, but in a way, if I'm doing a funeral home and there's cremains in there, I'm like, oh, here's cremains of Dolly. Hey Dolly, I'm not alone. Dolly's there with me. So you know,
Oh, that's sweet.
um,
Okay.
so I do that. I mean, there's always like death certificates. You got the hearses with the keys still there, which is
Mm.
crazy.
Do you ever try to
Um,
start it and see if it
oh,
works?
all the time, all the time. Yeah, yeah, I turn them, but they never turn on. It's really disappointing. I'd love that. Imagine if that turned on. Um, Death certificates, personal property of people that have passed. Um, yeah, to find these keys, cars with the keys and stuff. And then some places are literally just like everything's just left. Even when I have done houses, you've even got like the cereal on the kitchen counter and like the clothes in the wardrobe
Mm,
and the kids' toys on the floor, and it's like people just went up in a puff of smoke.
vanished.
Yeah,
Ooh, creepy.
yeah.
I feel like I've come across some of your photos with, like, creepy dolls. You've had those in your
Oh,
photos, right?
yeah, yeah. So I did a house in Spain in April 2022. That did really well on TikTok. And the woman there collected dolls, and it was just full
Mm.
of thousands of dolls. That
Oh
was
god.
amazing, thousands. And then I did a house in Liverpool, England, in July or beginning of August this year, and the woman there collected soft toys like plushies.
Mm.
And I don't know if you've seen that post. Head to ceiling, every room. You couldn't
Oh,
even move. Did you see that post?
dude.
Oh, it was crazy. And I got given the pin, and I thought, oh, it's just a house and toys. I had no idea it was like that. You could see that's insane, right? Yeah. Yeah. That was a bedroom. You
Oh
had to go through all
my
that to
god.
get to the bed.
This is crazy. My co-host, like, hates dolls and stuff. I'm totally gonna show her this.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine living there?
No, it would be I love dolls and stuff. I
Mm.
have, like, a bunch above my bed. I
Yeah.
bought, like, a creepy Annabelle doll,
Nice.
but this many
Yeah.
eyeballs staring
Yeah.
at me all day, I don't
Yeah.
know. But, I mean, if it comforts you, I imagine it comforted her. Maybe she
Yeah.
really just liked the company.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. So that was a good one.
Ooh,
That was
did
good.
any of the dolls ever, like, blink at you or
No, but I'd be walking through the house and they'd all like be falling on top of me.
oh,
It was great. And
they're
then you'd be
trying to, like,
stepping.
"Save me!"
Yeah, and then you'll be stepping on someone, they'd start playing the music and dancing and stuff. So it
Oh,
was literally
that's
like a horror
crazy.
film. Yeah, it was great though. It was really good.
Ooh.
That
Did
was a
you
good
get
house.
videos of that?
Yeah, it's on my TikTok. It's called Helen's house. A lady called Helen lived there. Apparently she was found dead surrounded by dolls. I don't know how true that is.
Oh, that would be so sad for the dolls.
I know, like, our owner is dead. What do we do? Yeah, but that was good. You have to check out the video.
Is there anywhere that's, like, on your dream, like, list, a place that you really wanna go?
I like to go to China. One thing I want to do is, I don't know if you've seen it. You've got the abandoned space rockets in Kazakhstan. It's like an entire
No.
silo of like space rockets, like as in for real life. But you,
Dude,
it's something like 24 hours to get to Kazakhstan because you have to go via somewhere else, and then you've got a 27-mile walk through the desert to get there.
wow.
So it's
Okay, that's
like,
a long walk.
yeah, and you can go, and I think you can still see it, but people have been getting caught, and I don't know. Look, if I could get there realistically, then I would go, but I think it would take me about 2 weeks, and I've got no one that wants to do it with me.
Right.
So I just like jump on a plane to go to the States. Like I was in the States for a weekend not long ago. I went on the Saturday morning and I came home on the Monday night just to do like
Whoa.
3 spots. And I was like, yeah, I flew to Orlando. I woke up at 4 a.m. I drove to Alabama. Then I went to Georgia to Cobb County. Did that one the next morning. Then that next night I flew home.
That's
So
crazy, just for
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, just fun. Well, it's just a hobby. I don't make any money from it really. If I make
Yeah,
any money, it goes straight away. I don't profit from it at all, you know?
right. I mean, I
That's
feel it. We're kind of in the same situation with the
that's why
podcast.
people need to buy prints, you know? Just
Yes.
help out.
Listen to the pod, buy
Mm.
prints, help us out with
I
our
see a big
hobbies.
surge in traffic now in dark room.
I hope so. I
Me
hope
too,
so.
me too.
Have you ever been anywhere in the PNW? So, like, you said you haven't been to Oregon, but what about, like, Washington, California, Alaska?
I've been to California, but not for urbex. I haven't been to Alaska. I've been to Washington. I was in
Okay.
Washington. Washington was really good. I did a couple of really good hospitals there. Um,
Ooh.
so that was really good. That was really, really good hospital. That had like thousands of infant autopsy certificates left. I've actually got one framed in my kitchen. Washington is nice, but I haven't done a lot. I don't think there's a lot in Alaska. California, there's a couple of bits, but not masses. But I haven't been to California for a long time. But I like
Mm.
Cali. Just the traffic was horrible.
Right. Ew.
Yeah, but I liked Venice Beach. I thought was very cool.
You gotta come
They
to
were like,
Oregon.
I do. I got to do the Goonies tour.
There's a lot of ghost towns here.
I do
Yeah.
hear that. I do hear that. Yeah, I know some people that have been. Oregon's on my bucket list. I want to do the Goonies thing just for the sake of it. You know, you can do
Yeah,
the
well, you
tour.
have to.
Do the Goonies tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And they have the museum thing now,
Yeah, with the prison,
I
right?
think.
Yeah,
I think.
it's in the
I
old
don't
prison. I'm sure. So we'll see.
gotta
We'll
look it
see.
up.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up or talk about?
No, I mean, I think we've covered about the spooky places, the funeral homes, but yeah, no, I'm back to the States soon. I got to do some more funeral homes. Um,
Those are
and
my favorite.
oh, they're the best. People always say to me, "Oh, you're not sick of doing funeral homes? You've seen one, you've seen them all." Absolutely not. No, because you've got all
No.
different kinds of funeral homes. You've got all different looks of prep tables, and some have caskets, some have hearses. So no, I never get bored of doing funeral homes. They're the best because we don't have them in England. So
You don't?
we have mortuaries and we have like funeral care, but it's like a little shop, and then you've got like a room out back. But we don't have the big funeral homes like you guys have, with like the chapel and the caskets and the viewing room, the embalming room, and the cards. You know what film I watched the other night? I hadn't seen it since I was really young. Did you ever watch My Girl?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
I think that's why I
Vegas.
like funeral homes and stuff.
Yeah, and I remember watching it the other night, and I was like, "That's a really nice funeral home," and I was like, "That's a cool embalming machine," because I've got an embalming machine in my apartment, and I think that's probably where I got the interest from when I was a kid. Like, wow, that funeral home is cool. In the film, she's afraid to go in the prep room. I'd be straight down there, straight down those stairs,
Right?
because 9 times out of 10 they're always in the basement. So you get into a funeral home, and the first thing I do is right prep room. I've got to see the prep room. Look for the door that's got the sign saying "Staff only, keep out, formaldehyde danger." That's the chemical they use,
Ooh.
the embalming fluid. And you open the
Mhm.
door, and in a split second, you're going to think this is great or not. I did a funeral home in Michigan in Battle Creek last year, and it was amazing. It was huge. It was like everything was in there, but somebody had taken out the embalming tables. And there was two in there, They were, like, head to head.
Oh,
I was really disappointed because I was like, "This place would have been perfect." So, they're not all amazing. Some are stripped, some have got metal tables, which I hate, but they're just good fun. I like them. So,
they all have drains in the floor?
oh, all drains. Yeah, the worst is when you go and they rip the table up and you're like, "Well, that's where it would have been because it's got the drain in the floor."
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But 9 times out of 10, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. So,
Well, you'll have to let me know if you ever do one in Oregon.
absolutely. We'll go and do the Goonies tour. That'd be great.
Maybe there's a funeral home around there, we don't know.
Well, exactly. I'm sure there is. I'm sure in these small towns there definitely is.
Alright, well, that was so cool. Thanks for reaching out and
Oh, you're
wanting to come
welcome.
on and talk
Sorry it
about
was,
this stuff.
delayed a couple of times. Just
Oh, it's
yesterday, I was a bit freaked out because of that, and I thought the cops were gonna come. They never did.
okay.
So that
I
whole thing
was
of, "Oh,
worried
yeah,
too. I was like,
the blogger's being
"Oh."
investigated." I'm like, "Well, they haven't been to see me."
They don't know
But
who it is.
yeah, are you on TikTok?
Not really. I went on to watch some of your videos, but I don't like TikTok
Do you like
unless
the
I'm
videos?
yeah, I do. I
Did
well, the only thing I noticed, I was like, "Well, why aren't you narrating it? Because you have such a great voice."
Thank you. People say that to me. I hate the sound of my voice, so when I hear back to
Really?
it.
I don't like mine either, and I have a
Yeah.
podcast that I edit, so, like, I have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hear
yeah.
myself constantly, so I get it.
But that video of that house where the woman murdered her parents, that's the last video I put up. That was 3 days ago. You should watch that one. It had, like, the soup in the cupboard where the mum's body was. Disgusting.
Oh.
The smell was horrific.
Oh,
How could you,
it
like,
smelled in
live
there?
with your we opened the wardrobe door where the mum was kept because she was kept in a sleeping bag and tarp, and the smell that hit us was, like, horrific. And it's like, how
Ew.
was that woman living for 4 years? Imagine, like, sitting down to watch, like, I don't know, CSI or something, and, like, your mum's upstairs in the wardrobe, your dad's in the study, like, so messed up.
Or you just get used to the smell, I don't know.
I mean, that smell was horrific, and that was, all this time later. I don't know. Weird. Some people are
How did the
just
other houses around it what were there other houses around?
Yeah, there was one
Like,
joined
how did
next
they
to
not
it.
right?
Like, yeah, there
Okay.
was one joined next to it. If you see my Insta pictures, you can see the house joined next to it on my last post.
Yeah.
Insane.
Did
I
they
know.
not smell it?
I don't know. So weird, isn't it? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yep, let me know if you're ever in Oregon.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do the Goonies. All right. You have a
Yeah,
good day.
you too. Okay, well, do you think tarot would take your mind off the dolls a little bit?
I hope so.
So we're using my crow deck. I don't know, I didn't have, like, a place or a deck that, like, screamed abandoned places, but my crow deck seemed like I don't know.
I think that's a good call.
Are there crows in England? Ben, let us know.
Yeah, I think so.
Does England have crows?
I just think it fits for me because, like, abandoned places, especially, this one that we've been scrolling through the photos of, there's just so much stuff, and
Yeah,
crows, they like to bring you presents, so they
they do. They like shiny things. They like trash. They like to eat trash. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So I would just hope that none of my crow friends would bring me any porcelain dolls, and then we're good. Really, really stuck on that.
My dream is to have crows bring me, like, a porcelain doll eyeball because it's, like, little enough, it's shiny. How cool would that be?
Oh.
Oh, I can't wait to be a forest witch.
Okay.
Okay, so we're thinking about abandoned places. Send me your energy specifically right now
Mhm.
because, like, I feel like
Yeah.
that's where it's at.
Ooh.
Would you ever go to an abandoned place?
I mean, it depends on the place, but yeah, I don't have anything against a location or a space just based on the fact that it's abandoned.
Right.
Actually, Cassie, we kind of well, you weren't there, but I kind of have been to an abandoned place with Chris. We went to Tunnel 13.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. And I should say too, I don't think we said in Ben's interview, but like, don't trespass.
Yeah.
We're just we were listening to his story, his experiences. He's his own person. He does what he wants to do.
Yeah.
We're not telling you guys to go and find places that are abandoned to, like, trespass on just because 'cause they're cool looking. I just wanna make that
Absolutely.
clear.
Absolutely. No, I think what is it, episode 2? It goes all the way back to episode 2.
Yeah,
It's Dick
Dick
Road,
Road.
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, yeah.
Yeah.
Just go as far as you're allowed to go,
Mhm.
but if you do go further, you can always write us a story.
Yeah. And do what's safe and
Yeah,
reasonable.
yeah, don't put yourself in danger, and we
Yeah.
definitely talked about it too in the interview, like, there can be people there.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
like
I'm sure there are all kinds of things that can present some challenges and some
yeah.
danger, so, just to be cautious of that.
But yeah, speaking of, I probably wouldn't go to, like, an abandoned place if it had, like, no trespassing signs all over it. Because like, we've said it
Oh,
before,
yeah.
and I realize I sound like a hypocrite most of the time because I say I'm a sucker for rules, but, like, rules like that, like, make sense, you know?
Yeah, I think
Rules like no trespassing, that make sense to me, it's not my property, so, like, I can respect that kind of rule. If the rules don't make sense to me and they're, like, unnecessary, then I'm like, "Fuck rules, I hate rules," you know?
yeah.
I just realized I'm always like, "Fuck rules," and then I'm like, "I'm a sucker for the rules," and I'm like, I'm a paradox."
Well, I do think, part of being an adult and part of being, somebody who exists in the world as an adult is learning to decipher what you think has value. And there
Yeah,
are rules that make sense to keep you safe or that you feel like make sense to you. And then there are rules that, some asshole made up. So,
right, exactly.
yeah, I feel like it needs to be at the bottom of like kind of the thick stack.
Down here?
Yeah, like basically where your pinky is, kind of pull
Here?
everything out your other pinky.
Oh, this guy. This
Yeah.
like this.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so, like, the bottom of this one or the top of this one?
I think the top of the other.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. We got ooh, we just didn't we just get oh, this is 8. We got the 8 of swords in reverse. And this kinda definitely looks like an apocalyptic
Oh
scene
my.
here.
That would make me abandon a place.
Wow, it's like a crow tied up in, like, a red scarf, it looks like.
Yeah.
Its eyes are covered, there's a bunch
Oh,
of well, there's 8 swords around him. I can't tell if that's just, like, the sky, like the sunset, it kinda looks like the sunset through a bunch of clouds,
it does. Yeah.
but it also kinda looks like a mushroom cloud, like a apocalyptic scene, you
Yeah.
know?
Wow.
Interesting, okay. 8 of swords in reverse.
The 8 of swords, our keywords are entrapment, self-undoing, fear, helplessness, bondage, denial, and deception.
Dude,
So that's ringing a bell for you?
this is kind of crazy, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's just reminding me of something specific that we talked about in the interview,
Oh, okay, okay.
like, kinda creepily, yeah. Well, so one of the places that he went into was an abandoned place where
Prison?
no, not a prison, it was a
Mm.
house where a woman murdered her parents and, like, I think wrapped them up and, like, had them in a closet for 4 years.
Oh,
So I'm like,
yeah.
in you said, like, entrapment,
Well, and think about the imagery of the
bondage.
card.
Yeah, they're all, like, it's wrapped up and it's, like, inside of the swords. Oh, ooh, that's creepy.
Okay. In many decks, the 8 of swords shows a person bound and blindfolded, ringed by a prison of swords. Because swords represent thoughts and beliefs, this card says you've created your own prison with your ideas and only you can free yourself.
She lived in that house for 4 fucking years, dude, with her parents in the closet.
Well, maybe okay, before I go to the interpretation, I'm gonna read you one of the extra excerpts here. Um, maybe this isn't the classiest, connection to make, but, it says, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." It's a quote by Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Okay.
I'm like, "Okay, well, she wasn't afraid to have a couple of"
Well, Well, that
Bodies
that
were
makes me feel better because that just, like, reminds me of Ben just, like, going to these abandoned places. Sometimes he goes alone, and he's
yeah.
like he says he's kinda scared sometimes, but, like, not really, you know? So he's just very brave in these
Yeah.
situations, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh my
He's 'cause
gosh.
he's ran into people too, and he had to, like, think on his toes and, like, come up with an excuse of, like, why he's there and yeah.
Okay. Okay. To break through the barrier you've built, you must change the way you see and do things. Sometimes this means rejecting social norms or going against the status quo.
I mean, don't do that if you're murdering people and keeping them in your house.
Right. I feel like this is more of a tie-in to Ben, who's
Yeah.
obviously, doing something very outside of maybe the beaten path.
Oh, totally, and, like, people from his TikTok, like, reported him for going into that house.
Really?
Yeah. He, like, got
Wow.
reported to the cops, so that's interesting. He's definitely doing things that no one else is doing.
Yeah. Oh, you also need to get focused and get moving. Perhaps you have your head in the clouds. The reversed 8 warns you need to get your affairs in order or the situation could worsen.
Oh, no. Is that, like, a warning to Ben?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't either.
I'm not sure how to take that
Be
exactly.
safe.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I mean, the fact that, like, he's had people reporting him, if he's had, run-ins, when he's actually been on site, that does sort of like, my first thought was, "Oh my gosh, be safe."
Yeah, please.
Yeah. In a reading about money, this card says you may not be dealing forthrightly with a financial problem. If you've been putting off paying your taxes, for example, or settling a legal matter, take care of it promptly to avoid more trouble. Sometimes this 8 indicates bad advice or deception. If the reading is about your job, the reversed 8 tells you to stop playing the victim. You may feel persecuted, trapped, or limited in your work, but you must take responsibility for where you're at and do something about it. In a reading about love, oh boy, you may feel tied to a person, perhaps because you're afraid to be alone or unwilling to support yourself, which that's interesting because she kept her parents in the home. It's like
Yeah.
she very easily could have, I suppose, gotten rid of their bodies, but it's almost like she didn't wanna be alone?
Oh, that's, like, a very disturbed person for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Wow.
Well, and so much of this is about your mind almost becoming like it's a prison for your thoughts, and
Mhm.
so I think that kind of makes sense. I mean, for
Yeah.
someone who's in that sort of a state, that
And I feel
feels
like you're sort of trapped in a way too, because you obviously can't really have, like, people over. I don't know if she was, like, leaving the house at all or if she was, like, too scared to leave that someone would find them while she was gone. I mean, I really don't know the situation, but I only
yeah.
imagine, like, yeah, you just must
Wow.
feel so trapped having that hang over your head for 4 years too.
Yeah, that's a long time to live with that information. This card can mean you're not facing up to what's really going on. If you've been listening to someone else's advice, the time has come to listen to your inner guidance. Okay, there is one additional extra excerpt, and I'll read that, and then you can share any other thoughts that you have
Okay.
about.
Yeah, I have one more thought,
Okay.
I think.
Many of our fears are tissue paper thin, and a single courageous step would carry us clear through them.
Wow.
Hmm.
It's interesting. I feel like we're getting, like, mixed messages a little bit here.
Yeah, well, I think you have obviously, if we're picking up on the different energies that are related to kind of all of the different, I mean, it really runs the gamut, but,
Yeah.
you know, Ben's energy is going to be very different than that of, the abandoned murder house.
Yeah, and, like, your energy too. I was asking for your energy, and that's funny. It
Mhm.
talked about, like, fear the only thing to fear is
Yeah.
fear itself.
I'm
Uh,
afraid that I will be too afraid.
and you probably wanna be blindfolded so you don't have to see the dolls.
I don't wanna be anywhere near dolls blindfolded.
But if you don't see them, are they there?
Yes! Is that a serious question?
You can feel them. Okay, I'm done.
What a ridiculous person.
Yeah, okay, so the last thought I had was it kind of, reminded me of see, I'm trying to think and talk, and it's not working.
Well, it's tough. It's tough.
Like, when I say we're not giving you advice to go and do these things,
Mhm.
like, you have to make up your own decision, and that's basically, like, the last thing that you said there was, like,
Oh, yeah.
don't follow other people's advice, just do your own what, like, feels good to you, basically, so
That's right.
that
Wow.
fit, that was good.
Yeah, yeah. Um, whew.
This is okay, so there's another card, and it was, like, the one at the bottom that I was kind of eyeballing. When we
Mhm.
split the deck, it was at this one at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's the Justice card
Oh.
in reverse,
Oh.
which is also interesting because we all justice, it's kind of,
Yeah.
self-explanatory, I feel like. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if you
think
wanna peruse and see if
given the
there's just
nature of our show.
right? Interesting too, it's another red blindfolded bird.
Yeah, kind of a different, variation of binding, but that premise is still there.
And the imagery on these cards do look like abandoned places kinda would look. That is
Yeah,
really interesting.
they do.
Like, with peeling wallpaper and paint and stuff is what that one looks like.
Keywords are rectification, decision, finding balance, and legal matters, which I think all speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Okay. The Justice card often depicts a female figure robed and crowned, or sometimes armored. She holds a sword, symbol of the air element and the mind, in one hand and in the other a set of scales. In
Oh, she's
some
holding a
decks,
sword, and we got swords for the other card.
we did, yeah. In some decks, she appears nude with arms outstretched in a balanced position, or she stands between a large set of scales while holding a smaller set. This justice isn't blind or blindfolded, however. Her eyes are open, suggesting divine justice is at work here rather than the laws of humankind.
Does that mean the murderer is gonna get punished in the afterlife? Not here? I don't
Um,
know how to take
I
that.
almost to me, I read that almost as like I somebody who gets away with that for 4 years, and then I don't know what the circumstances were of the discovery and her capture
Yeah, me
subsequently,
neither.
but, um, that almost seems like there's, like, divine intervention in putting a stop to that.
Yeah, interesting.
The Justice card can represent an actual legal matter or someone who works in the judicial system. Whatever the situation, you must weigh many factors in order to make a reasoned decision.
Hmm.
Which honestly, that kind of makes me think, like we were sort of speculating wildly about, the mental health of someone who would remain in their home with two people that they have killed, and worse yet, their own parents. But I think that makes me think of, like, you have to sort of take into account maybe the mental health of someone who committed this crime as you think about maybe sentencing them.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, do you want me to read the reverse interpretation?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Justice reversed indicates delays in legal matters or unfairness in some other situation.
There was certainly a delay.
Yeah, a little bit. That's exactly where my mind went. If you're the person in power, you may be unduly severe in meting out punishment. If you're in the powerless position, you may feel angry or resentful at being treated unfairly. Your
Wow.
equilibrium is out of whack and you may swing from one extreme to the other. That almost makes me think of like a parent-child relationship, right?
Kinda
Because
does, yeah.
how many times has like an angry kid or teenager said, "That's not fair."
Yeah, it
That's
does.
kind of the vibe it's giving me. In a reading about money, you may encounter a loss in a legal matter or feel a financial decision isn't fair. Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Perhaps
now I
you'll
wanna look more into this story and see,
I
like, what
know.
happened, like, how like, did anything come out in the courts of, like, why?
Oh my god. I mean, there's got to be more
Yeah,
information about
and
this
I don't know
case.
how long ago I really don't know anything other than what he's told us
Mm,
in this episode, so, like, I really don't know
okay.
that much. I don't know when it happened or
Okay, so I think part of your homework is gonna be you gotta ask him for some more information.
give me the full story,
Yeah, me.
or I'll just Google it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have enough information to actually be able to look up the case. I don't even have, like, a name or anything, so
I think I could because he sent me, like, a news clip of, like, them talking about him on the news going
Oh,
into the
okay.
house, so I think I could probably figure it
It
out.
probably says, enough information that we can sleuth it out, as it were.
Yeah,
Okay. Perhaps you'll be required to make restitution to someone. This card can also represent delays or complications in receiving money that's due to you.
maybe life insurance?
And
'Cause,
I don't
like
think she's gonna get that payment.
no, I don't think so.
Not so much.
But I
If the
wonder if, like, she was thinking if they're missing long enough.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, of
kinda the one
course.
we talked about,
Mhm.
with the missing family, was that it? Where they had to wait a
Yeah.
certain amount of time to collect?
Yeah, which is pretty typical. Obviously, I have no idea what the terms and conditions are over in England, but
Right.
here in Oregon, even dating back to that case from, the late 50s, um, it was like 7 years. So,
Wow, yeah. Huh.
if the reading is about your job, justice reversed can signify an imbalance in your workplace or a lack of cooperation. Or this card may mean you have to account for an action or mistake. In some cases, it may point to a legal issue involving the organization you work for.
Interesting.
Interesting. In a reading about love, you may feel a relationship lacks balance. One of you has more power or control than the other. Sometimes this card indicates having to answer for an indiscretion or wrongful action.
Yeah.
I should say so.
No notes.
Yeah. Wow. I think we found a lot of good connections with that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad I remembered to pull that card out from the end because I was thinking about it while you were picking the other side, and I'm like, "Yeah, I like this I
Yeah.
like both sides for this."
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some really interesting parallels, it seems
And,
like.
like, literally just the connection between the 2 cards, like, the red
Yeah,
ribbon, blindfold, and the sword thing, like, I
yeah.
don't oh, there is a sword on this card, it was blended
Mhm,
in. I do see
mhm.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just it's interesting. It's all interesting.
So interesting.
Have a
Have a
creepy
creepy
ass
ass day.
day. We'll see you next Tuesday, unless you get lost in an abandoned place forever and ever and
Or
ever.
there's a porcelain doll outside your door.
Knock, knock, knock.